The Soybean School on realagriculture.com is brought to you by Pride Seeds, Cruiser Max Vibrance Beans, and High Stick NT.
So in the southwest of Ontario, we've had some heavy rain causing some crusting in certain counties on certain types of fields, maybe a little heavier clay where that soil is consolidated, caused a little bit of crusting going on in those fields. So we've got to decide on a replant. How have we gone about that, and what's the best way to decide on those replants from crusting, water damage, that sort of thing. So first things first, do your stand assessment, whether you use the hula hoop method, whether you do the number of feet in a row, counting your beans, and do a bunch of spots around the field to really make your choices. Now, if it's water been laying, likely it's just going to be in the lower parts, but overall, we got to figure out what we've got for a plant stand up. In looking at those, we've decided that we've got a population of 25 to 35, 40,000 in those low areas. We've got beans that are stuck under the crust. We've got beans that are breaking the cotyledons off, breaking below the cotyledons because they're stuck in that crust. How do we make the decision? What do we go back with? So if we've got less than 40% of a stand, we definitely need to go back. So what we've done in those situations, we've assessed the stand, we've decided the beans aren't going to make it. In those situations, we need to go back in. If we have 40,000 there, we're shooting for 180 to 200,000 final plant stand. Let's drop in another 140,000 seeds per acre. Maybe go on a bit of an angle through those low spots. That way you're going to get a better stand, bump that stand up, and have a better chance of yield potential. Okay, so when it comes to frost damage, that's a little different than crusting, obviously. We got to assess those growing points, make sure those are still alive. Fields that I was looking at this year where there was frost damage, the beans were all up, but we couldn't tell initially how much of that bean had been damaged, whether the growing point was damaged or not, whether those auxiliary buds are going to throw out new trifoliates or not. So we had to go back, assess those stands after a week after the frost at least, maybe a little longer. We walked those fields, looking at the growing point, got to get down and look at each of those plants. We do that count the number of beans we got in that thousandth of an acre, then go through and really sort out which ones are viable and which ones aren't. So in a couple of the situations, we were aiming for 160,000 final plant stand. We're sitting at 30 to 40,000 plants. That's well under that 40% margin where we still have 87% yield potential. So with those, we got to still go back and we bump those yields up, bump those populations up to get the yields back up for the end of the season. We'll take them right back up to that 150, 160,000 plants per acre, and then we should have a good viable plant stand. Tougher point is, looking at those frosted fields, is to try and make sure that growing point is still growing. Auxiliary buds will still grow. You may lose the unifoliate, but you'll grow 2 new trifoliates. Some of the pictures we got, you'll be able to see those different things and be able to assess a little better. Last couple thoughts on replant beans. When you're choosing those varieties to replant, make sure if you're going to plant wheat this fall, you're choosing a bean that's maybe a little bit shorter than the day length of bean you got planted. If wheat's not a concern, there's still time to plant beans. We have in the deep southwest still till the end of June to replant beans. Crop insurance date has still got lots of time, so assess those fields, keep a look at them. We've had a little bit of rain. We might still be getting some more beans through, but still keep on top of those fields. There's still time to replant and bump up those populations if needed.